Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our daily get-together here on Facebook Live every morning at 10:30, where we take a look at current headline stories, comments, suggestions, tips, and everything we can get our hands on to make our lives better here in Puerto Vallarta as an English-speaking community. If you're new to our broadcasts, my name is Paco, and we would love to know that you're new, and you can let us know by writing the word new in your comments. It is always great to see folks from all over the place. It is always great to say hello to all these wonderful friends that join us every day or many days of the week. And it's always great to see your comments, which, by the way, if you have a specific comment that you want us to acknowledge during the show, it helps a little bit if you add the word Q, the letter Q at the beginning of your comment. Michael Young is in the house, and it is a good thing because Michael, we talked about Michael yesterday because he's moving to Puerto Vallarta. He's an opera singer, and he sent me a very nice note regarding the anniversary of Coffee and Headlines. And of course, him being an opera singer, I want to put him to good. I want to put him to work immediately. So today we are going to have an interesting activity later on. We're going to suggest repertoire to Michael, things that he should learn to be a successful opera singer in Puerto Vallarta. And we're going to suggest some things that we pray he will not ever sing. And we're going to build a little variety show for him. And of course, we're going to hope that my dear friend and doctor, Mark Hartman, will join us, hopefully. He will add his 2 cents to this equation. But before we go there, we have important news to share, including news from north of the border that are completely unavoidable, and of course more news about local improvements going on in the city. We have a news about an important prison that was closed down here in the state, and other tidbits that I think you're going to enjoy, or at least I hope you're going to enjoy. So before we go on, let me see if there's anything pressing today. I don't see anything pressing, so let's just dive into the news, shall we? Bam! So needless to say, we Donald Trump and his wife have COVID. That news, you can find information about it elsewhere, I am sure. But the implications, of course, are tremendous. I found this article that shows other important world leaders that have contracted COVID-19. That includes the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro, and so forth and so on. It is really unfortunate that this happened, and we hope that he will have a speedy recovery along with his wife. Needless to say, this creates a lot of uncertainty to all the things that are going on north of the border, and we send good vibes to everybody that is concerned about this at this moment. We got this headline from the Vallarta Opina that reminds us that October is hurricane month in Puerto Vallarta, for better or for worse. Traditionally, we have the worst hurricanes during this month. And if you look at this image, we're looking at a building right on the Malecon being struck by a huge wave during Hurricane Kena. This was back in 2002. Fortunately, we haven't had anything as bad as Hurricane Kena in the years between then and now. But of course, we know that it's likely to happen during the month of October. Let us pray that that is not the case. Then we've been talking about our mayor, Arturo Dávalos, supervising improvement works around the city. We talked about how some streets are being improved. And yesterday, Mayor Dávalos and his team were out and about doing photo ops along some of the improvements that are being done around the city, which include pavement of new streets and the building of new sports facilities. Again, more sports facilities. And it's quite possible that a lot of this is happening in areas of Puerto Vallarta that you have probably never seen before. That goes to say that the city is very large, and it's a good thing to know that this improvement is happening in the city, and hopefully it'll also happen in some of the colonias or neighborhoods that we tend to habitate in. Along the same lines, the mayor of Bahía de Vanderas, Jaime Cuevas, is also supervising some improvements in some streets in La Cruz de Guanacaxtle. So if you are living up there, you should be happy to know that some streets in your city are being repaved with hydraulic concrete, and hopefully this will improve the infrastructure in your city, and that is our hope. In other news, the issue of the new labels that are being placed in items we buy at the supermarket continues to raise eyebrows because this is unprecedented in Mexico. We haven't had this kind of labeling in food. I have yet to go to the supermarket just to see what items have been labeled with what kind of labels, and I know that I'm going to find some labels that are going to shock me, or I will go, well, this doesn't surprise me, kind of thing. There was some confusion, I should say, that some supermarkets thought they were not able to carry unlabeled products anymore. So some supermarkets were reported to refusing deliveries of products. I don't know exactly how that works, but all I know is that we can expect these products to be all over the supermarket. I'm going to go to supermarket either today or tomorrow, and I'm going to try to take some photographs. They're not so keen on you taking photographs at the supermarket, but I will try to do that when I'm there. Back to the whole Ayotzinapa case, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, the president of Mexico, states that the pact of silence has been broken. This means that hopefully some of the witnesses or key people involved in this situation are beginning to speak up. It is possible that the government is offering protection. I don't know the details, but López Obrador indicated that people are starting to share their accounts of what really happened with the 43 students that went missing. In other Mexican crime-related news, you will probably read elsewhere that one of the most important prisons in Mexico, Puente Grande, was closed. This is the prison where El Chapo Guzman escaped from in 2001. And there's been a lot of controversy as to why the prison was closed. And one of the things that has been mentioned to that effect is that the prison, according to the Public Safety Secretary, Alfonso Durazo, it was a myth that it was a high security prison. The prison was controlled by one of the cartels. And it is a good thing that it's being closed, because now the inmates that were in that prison are being distributed among other places, so they cannot create a lot of strength as far as the cartel is going, as far as the cartel is concerned. We have yet to have any kind of clearance from the United States as to whether cruise ships are going to begin to operate this fall or when they're going to begin to operate. But according to this news note from Vallarta Opina, Puerto Vallarta is now capable of receiving up to 5 cruise ships at the same time. Needless to say, 3 is the maximum number of cruise ships that can dock at the maritime terminal. But there are now enough resources and logistical, wherewithal to be able to attend 2 additional ships that are docked off the terminal. So that's a total of 5. I don't know if we will see 5 cruise ships anytime in the near future, but at least the local government is waiting for them with open arms. Let me take a quick pause in the news to see if there's any important questions at your end. I'm looking for questions with the letter Q. And I see a new person. Welcome, Christopher Cohee. I hope I'm saying your last name properly. This is Coffee and Headlines. I hope you find something wonderful here. And it's great to have you. Bam, bam, boom, bam, bam. Let's see. A lot of good mornings. Thank you very much. I love it. I love it when you all say good morning. It really makes my day. Bill talks about having Siam cuisine in his neighborhood. Yes, that makes two of us. Let's see. Some comments about COVID. Again, we try not to be very political here just because we know that there's a lot of diversity here as well, and we try to remain as respectful as we can be. Paul, I'm glad that you're here. Let me know if we can meet this afternoon. Good morning. Okay, moving on with the news. There's a question here. Are the vendors on the beach selling their stuff? Yes, they are. They are selling their stuff. When the cruise ship gone come. I don't understand your question, Chef. If you want to throw it at me in Spanish, that's fine. Is there any word on Eat at David's restaurant opening in their new location? Not that I've heard of, Doug, but hopefully somebody else will throw in some comments to that effect. Moving on with the news, yesterday we reported about those tourists or guys that chose to go skinny dipping at Mantamar, and we see the aftermath of that is that Mantamar will be sued for exhibitionism, sexual exhibitionism in their pool. The whole situation became complicated legally because the video was reported or was submitted, but there is no specific or clear evidence as to when the video was shot. Obviously, by the time the inspectors got there, the behavior was no longer taking place. So it gets tricky and complicated to make things happen. How or why is beyond my area of expertise, but there will be some consequences for the venue. There is this is leisurely stuff. Let me stop here and take a quick look at where we are at, and we can continue with the weather. But first, years ago there was a restaurant in Old Town that was called the Tree House. It had a tree growing through it. The last time I was there, 2 Canadian women owned it. Is it still there, or is it still a restaurant? Where was it located? I don't know. I don't know. It sounds vaguely familiar, but it doesn't ring a bell, Paula. Hopefully somebody will answer that question for you. Brad asks, are there any nude beaches near Puerto Vallarta? Not legally, but there are beaches in which you can go skinny dipping and not get into major trouble. But there's no legally sanctioned nude beaches in town. Oh, we got tourists in the house. Brad, you are a tourist, right? And if you are, I'm so glad that we can answer your questions here. And that's a good thing. Let us move on to the weather. What do we got here? It is It is 25 degrees, feels like 27. Fahrenheit is 77 degrees. Humidity is low, 68%. We haven't had 68% humidity in forever. There's 0 chance of precipitation. Oh boy, it starts to feel like fall weather. That's wonderful. The weather forecast for today is it'll be humid throughout the day, but of course less humid than yesterday. And tomorrow it's going to be humid through the day, and Sunday it is going to be humid through the day as well. So this is what we have scheduled. Yay. But I'm so very happy to see that humidity is decreasing. So, moving on to our leisurely stuff, I want to let you know about this group in Cancun, and they call themselves Snorkeling for Trash. They started their activities this past month in September in Cancun, in Quintana Roo. And what is the trash that they are finding now? They are finding face masks. How curious is that? And I suppose it's expected. Snorkeling for Trash is finding a lot of face masks on the beach. I just thought it was interesting to see that. Um, I also wanted. Oh, this was also part of the news, and I put it in the wrong place. I want to talk a little bit about trusts because you may hear about this piece of news as you're out and about. We tend to think about trusts here in Puerto Vallarta as they relate to real estate and as what you need to get involved with if you wish to buy a property in Mexico. Oftentimes we talk about the fact that if you're a foreigner, you need to have a trust and you have to have, I believe you have to have a co-Mexican owner. I don't know the details. I'm not a real estate expert. But there are other kinds of trusts in Mexico, and these trusts are presently going through a lot of scrutiny by the Mexican government. When President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador decided he wanted, not decided, he was elected president, he said one of his major tasks would be to eliminate trusts in Mexico. What kind of trusts am I talking about? Well, there is a whole series of science-related and art-related trusts that are set up in different levels of government through Mexico, in which organizations and governments put aside money to be able to foster the development of scientific related activities and art related activities. President Lopez Obrador has argued that the problem with a lot of these trusts is that they allow for what is known in Spanish as aviadores to exist. An aviador is slang for a person that is on their payroll, but is really just not doing much of anything and twiddling their thumbs. And there is something to be said about the fact that this is entirely possible. In fact, we know that there's a lot of government-related dependencies and perhaps even non-governmental ones in which some people are just paid for nothing or very little. So the situation about trusts being removed is something that is being wrestled in the court in Mexico right now. Why would this be important to you? You're probably wondering. Well, these trusts, again, have to do with scientific development in Mexico, but they also have to do with arts development in Mexico. There's a lot of smaller organizations that fear that with the disappearance of these trusts, the arts in Mexico will suffer. Specifically, there was a reaction to all this controversy by the government of the state of Jalisco, which goes to say that the state of Jalisco will invest 9 million pesos in the production of film and television projects in our state. Yesterday, our governor made a statement to the effect that even if the trusts go away in Jalisco, it is important for us that people know that they can come to our state and have their productions take place here. And there's even this website called Filma in Jalisco, Film in Jalisco. It's a bilingual website that is set up by the state government that shows all kinds of different locations that can be found in our state. And it shows that between 2014 to 2019, 58 films, 94 short films, 105 TV commercials, and 137 other types of productions have been filmed in our state. So it is good to see that this is happening, because when things are filmed in our state, they bring awareness of our state to a lot of people. And I'm going to make a quick pause in the news here because Eric brings up a very important comment, and I want to make sure that everybody understands this. The fideicomisos that I'm talking about have nothing to do with real estate. Nothing to do. It's different things. Don't worry if you own property. This is not about all of a sudden your property being in danger because fideicomisos are disappearing, which is why I wanted to talk about this. This has nothing to do with your real estate pursuits. And I'm glad that we have experienced professionals like Eric Robb in the house, which can, of course, answer any questions that you may have. Let me see. I see some answers to the question of the restaurants. Christy says it could be Trepiati. They do have a tree growing up. And there's also mention of Lydia's place. So I'm not entirely sure. And somebody's talking about Los Arbolitos, and it doesn't exist anymore. Again, I just appreciate the fact that you are also incredibly wonderful and helpful to one another. Da, 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 da. Christina mentions that's a lot of film production, and that is correct. We are very fortunate that we constantly see film activity taking place, certainly here in Puerto Vallarta, certainly in other places. We know of important movies that have been filmed here or movies that have been popular. Moving right along, I only have a couple of headlines before we get into our little operatic experiment. I want to report that the first monarch butterflies have been reported. You may not know, but monarch butterflies migrate to Mexico every year, and they settle in the forests of the state of Michoacan. And this is the time of year when this starts to happen. And of course, it is a beautiful sight, as I understand it. I've never had the pleasure of seeing the butterflies arriving in Michoacan. I've never visited. Well, I visited Morelia, but that's pretty much the only thing that I've seen. I've never seen the butterflies, but I understand from people that have seen them that it is quite a sight. So it's nice to see that they're coming. I know that environmentalists every year, they mention that the number of butterflies is decreasing, and let's hope that that's not an environmental trend that will continue. I also saw this headline that says that pueblos mágicos will be evaluated by the tourism secretary, and this deserves a lot of explanation as well. Mexico has established a number of small Mexican towns as magical towns, and the magic has nothing to do with Harry Potter and everything to do with the fact that these are towns that one way or another remain town-like, remain traditional, remain undeveloped, or developed responsibly. And there's a number of them. There's a few of them here in Jalisco, including San Sebastián del Oeste and Tapalpa. And what we see on this headline that I was looking at is that you could stop being a Pueblo Mágico, and this is going to be evaluated by the tourism secretary. Currently, there are 121 pueblos mágicos in Mexico. What would happen if a pueblo mágico lost its denomination? Well, they would lose funding from the federal government, and they would lose the prestige of being a pueblo mágico, and that's just something that can happen. Anyhow, we are approaching the end of the program, and let me just rewind my tape a little bit and tell you about Michael Young, who we were talking about yesterday. And yesterday we said that we were very grateful for Michael coming up with ideas and coming up with nice comments about being received by the community and so forth and so on. And I know that he's an opera singer, and of course, knowing that an opera singer is moving to Puerto Vallarta makes me all excited because it's one more soul to add to the cultural value of our city. Immediately, I thought, well, how wonderful to have an opera singer in town. Mind you, I know very little about Michael. We're just getting to know each other through Coffee and Headlines, and I don't know that Michael knows my dear Dr. Hartman, who I have seen is in the house. And for those of you who don't know Mark Hartman is the most wonderful accompanist that there will ever be. Mark Hartman has been broadcasting live his piano playing in the afternoons from his parents' home. He has this beautiful spinet. I think spinet is a word for a piano that is not quite very tall. And he is amazing. He can sing everything. He can play everything. And he knows so much about music and musicals. In fact, Mark, I think I need a private consultation soon because I have another musical that I have issues with, and these issues have resurfaced It's called Godspell. I have issues with Godspell, so I may need either a private intervention or maybe you can come live in the show and you can fix me up because I have issues with Godspell. But it's not about me. It's about our beloved new opera singer that is moving to our city. So it occurred to me that, you know, I know that he likes to sing Mozart arias because he commented the other day that he was singing something from Don Giovanni, I believe. And you can put together your little recital or your big recital with Mozart arias. You can include some from some Schubert if you want, and you can include some Mahler if you want. But then it occurred to me that I started thinking, well, what does Puerto Vallarta need? And this part, mind you, this is a tongue-in-cheek part. Don't take me seriously because I have a warped sense of humor, and I won't keep you. But I do have to say this: I thought long and hard last night, that what happened with my news about Hugo Lopez Gatell? Never mind. I lost a headline, but I don't want to get distracted. Anyhow, I thought to myself, well, the last thing I want an opera singer to learn in Puerto Vallarta in 2020 during the pandemic is Bésame Mucho. Thank you very much, but you don't need to add that to your repertoire. Everybody sings it. Everybody knows it, and it's so often butchered that no, Michael, you don't want to learn Bésame Mucho. If you guys have any suggestions about what he could learn, I think this would be a great time. I'm going to come up with mine. I think that regardless of what your recital says, and Dr. Hartman, here's where you come into play. I think there should be a recital that includes choice songs from the 70s repertoire. But I'm not talking about songs that you would expect an opera singer to sing. I want to hear a comic relief segment in your recital that includes, this is not even a 70s song, this happened in the 60s, but wouldn't you just love to hear a deep operatic voice singing something like this? Don't you know that I'm loving you? Iron Butterfly, it would be perfect. Inagada da vida, baby. It would be a perfect show. That would be absolutely wonderful. Or maybe, okay, going back to the 70s, because we decided this would have to be choice repertoire from the 70s. How about this one? That would be a beautiful lullaby. Dim all delight, sweet baby. I mean, that would crack me up. That's the thing that I want to go see. And you know what? I don't think this has been done in Puerto Vallarta. If there are tenors or baritones in town, or even basses that are already spoofing the 70s in their recitals, please let me know. Because I'm thinking this is an original thing here in Puerto Vallarta. If somebody else has already done it, please let me know who's doing it. But if somebody else comes up with a recital of spoofing 70s music, we came up with this idea here. Just know that. And you know what that section would have to close with? The ultimate 70s aria for male opera singer. Michael Young, pay attention. You have to end that segment with Wild Cherries. Play that funky music. Play that funky music, white boy. Just imagine yourself going, lay down your boogie and play that funky music till you die. I mean, it would be wonderful. All the old ladies in town and all the dudes would be there smoking grass and having a great time. So my wish, my selfish wish is Michael and Mark, you guys talk among yourself. I don't know that Mark is a Schubert kind of piano player or a Mahler kind of piano player, Michael, but if you want to go places where nobody has ever been before in this town that I'm aware of, I think you should tackle the rock repertoire from the 70s and just come up with a really funny program, or at least a segment that is funny. Play that funky music, white boy. I would love it. I would go. I would go and I would recommend it. So that is my selfish wish for you. And if you don't ever want to talk to me again, I will still love you very much, and I'm going to still wish you lots of success. But I want to hear. And in fact, if I ever interview you, even if you don't do this, Michael, if I ever interview you and you come live on Sunday Funday and we wear chingaderas on the head and act all totally queer like I am known to do, I will have a list of specific lyrics that I will dare you to sing in operatic style and just see how we how we fare after that experience. And I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue. Oh my God, Mark approves. The rock anthems are hysterical. I mean, there's so many of them, you know. We're not going to take it. Oh Lord, we're not going to make it. I mean, there's. I want to go to that show. I really do want to go to. Oh, just a little journey. See, you guys are exactly where I'm at. Jeffrey wants an opera version of Yellow Submarine. I tell you, this is a show. It's never happened in Puerto Vallarta. I am going to this performance. So you have to start talking among yourselves. Talk to Mark Hartman, who is a great musical doctor. And Michael, you know, you guys, you know, I mean, maybe this goes entirely against all your ideas of what you want to do, but that's what I want to go see. Play that funky music, white boy. And I'm repeating myself, which means that it is, oh, Michael says, hocus pocus by focus. I love it. See, I tell you, you guys are exactly in the right place that I'm in. Even my friend Earl from Provincetown, that we went to music school together, he's like, girl. Anyhow, Journey, says Terry Gone. Where can we get tickets? I love it. 45th anniversary of Rocky Horror. Oh gosh, Rocky Horror opera style. But you know what? That would be kind of expected. You know, that would be sort of expected in Puerto Vallarta because there's a lot of history with Rocky Horror here in town. And you know, and you would be expected to sing Cole Porter, and you would be expected to sing George Gershwin and all that stuff. But fuck that, Michael. It's been done. Tackle the 70s rock scene. And I think that's going to be a wonderful performance. And because I'm starting to ramble, that's where I'm going to leave today's broadcast. I'm going to continue researching 70s trashy rock and roll songs that would never be sung by Bryn Terfel or any other famous opera star. But Michael, you could be a pioneer in Puerto Vallarta. And for the rest of us, I'm sorry I got a little bit musically at the end of Coffee and Headlines. You know I love this stuff. I don't mean to bore those people that are not into music, but some of us are. Anyhow, if you giggled, if you learned something new, if you had a good time, please share the word about what we do here, Coffee and Headlines. We just try to keep ourselves informed, amused, inspired, and staying positive and optimistic about this crazy world that we live in now. If you had a good time, keep us in mind. And I wish for you a wonderful musical day. Stay happy, stay singing, stay kind, stay in touch, and stay patient because things are getting just even more interesting and the year hasn't ended. Have a great day, and I will see you again tomorrow.